Hello neighbors, it's Brad here at eTrailer, and today we're taking a look and installing the CURT Class 3 Trailer Hitch receiver on a 2022 Ram 1500. Now, this is going to be a great addition to your truck if you do have the factory reinforcement bar, and it's going to be a lot easier than a full hitch install. And this is going to give you a decent amount of towing capacity as well as tongue weight. In fact, this one comes in at 6,000 pounds of gross trailer weight rating, which is going to be the weight of the trailer plus the accessories loaded up. Now, your tongue weight is going to be 600 pounds, and that's going to be the downward pressure that's put on the receiver tube opening. So overall, it's pretty good numbers. Now, if you do want to step it up, or you plan on towing something quite a bit heavier, we actually have a few more options that are going to be full hitch installs, and the installation is going to be a little bit more lengthy, but CURT and Draw-Tite offer options, and that's going to be for some of you towers that tow a heavier load. Whereas this is going to be great for if your truck's your daily driver and you want to put a cargo carrier or a bike rack or a ball mount to tow a smaller trailer, this is going to work great for you. And also the fact that this just kind of bolts in place really makes it nice and makes for a quick installation, and you'll be ready to use your hitch within a few minutes. Now, this receiver is going to give you all the same benefits of a normal hitch that you would have on a vehicle. This one has a 5/8 hitch pin, so this is going to be great for putting your accessories in place and making sure they stay in place. Now, it doesn't come with the hitch pin and clip. We actually have a lot of options here available at eTrailer, including locking ones, and that way when you have your accessories loaded up, you can lock them and know that your accessory is not going to leave in the hands of someone else. Now, sometimes your accessories will actually come with a hitch pin and clip, so that's something to look out for as well when you're planning on using your hitch. You'll also see there's a rolled style safety chain loop. That's rather decent size opening, will allow for your standard hooks or even a larger clevis style hook to attach with no problems. Now, it does sit pretty flush here with the rear of the bumper, but we'll take a quick measurement here from the center of the hitch pin hole to the rear bumper. It's going to be 2 inches, so that's something to keep in mind when you load your accessories in that might fold up. It shouldn't have any issues being this close, but something to keep in mind. Let's also take a look at the ground clearance. So from the top of the receiver tube opening to the ground is 19.5 inches, which should be plenty for any accessory that you really load up. But when you drive up inclines or go off some rough terrain, some of your suspended accessories that you put on here will actually kind of dip down. So something to keep in mind when you have those loaded on there. Now, as far as the installation goes, it's extremely easy, but you are going to need a specialty tool and probably need to rent it. It's going to be a large torque wrench, and that's going to just make sure that we have the hardware torqued down properly, and that way it stays tight, but not too tight, putting stress on the threads. Speaking of that installation, let's take a look at that now. Now, to begin our installation, you're first going to want to actually use the fit guide on our website to make sure that this is what you need for your vehicle. And a good way to check as well is to look under your truck, and you're going to see this factory rear reinforcement bar. And what this is going to do is allow us to just bolt our receiver tube opening up to this, and that's going to give us that hitch accessibility to be able to hook up to a ball mount or to any of your accessories. Now, this is an install that's going to be really easy to do if you have the right tools, and it can definitely be done in your driveway or in your garage. We just have it on the lift here to make it a little bit easier to see, but really this should be a pretty quick install to allow us to have a receiver tube opening. Now, there's a few things that we want to do to make sure that this is prepped, ready to go up before we actually mount it up. So let's go ahead and take a look at that now. So in your hardware, you're going to have a large bolt here with the flat top. Now, this is going to be a 1/2 inch hex here, so you might need to pick up a 1/2 inch hex drive because we will be torquing this down pretty heavily later. You're going to want this. Having an Allen wrench probably isn't going to cut it when it comes to this, so you might want to pick one of these up. Now, what we're going to do here is sometimes the powder coating can actually kind of cake up in the threads here, and it's going to make it really hard to thread this in. So you can see I can get just a few threads started, but really it's already more than hand tight. So what I'm going to do is take my 1/2 inch hex here, I'm going to put it on my impact, and I'm going to just kind of run this through, and that's going to clear some of that powder coat out, and it's going to make it a lot easier once we put this in place to be able to get our bolt. So just running that through once or twice should be enough, and it will bottom out if you go too far. So ours went all the way down. You can actually see some of the powder coating. There's some black flakes on here that it cleared out. So while we're on that, we're also going to take the bracket that it comes with and the bolts, and this is going to be a 3/4. These were a little bit better at just kind of checking it, but it did kind of bind up. It's kind of got some grittiness, and already hand tighten, it's getting tough. So I'm going to go ahead with my 3/4 inch socket and run these through as well, just to kind of clear out that powder coating. So the first thing we're going to want to do is take this center cap out, and this should come off pretty easy. Just set this aside because we'll be putting this back on later. So now we can take our large bolt. We're going to just drop it down the center here. So next you're going to want to take your bracket here, and you're going to see that the weld nuts are on one side. So this actually needs to go with them facing up, and it's just going to slide in this area here. So now we're going to grab our receiver tube, and this is going to mount up here. We're going to be taking our 3/4 inch bolt here with the conical tooth washer and just hand tightening this in. Now with your conical tooth washer, you want these facing up so it sits against the metal, and we're just going to hand tighten this in for now. And if the 3/4 inch bolt gets in the way, you can push that up for now, but we're going to get these two started here. So you just slide it up through the holes on our factory reinforcement bar there. And I'm going to go ahead and do the other side as well. So with those two bolts kind of holding that in place, I'm also going to take our top 3/4 inch bolt here and just hand tighten it into those threads just so it kind of holds it in place. So now we're going to need to tighten this up, and we are going to tighten it down to the torque setting that's specified in the instruction manual. Now this is a part where you probably don't have a torque wrench at home that will go up to the torque setting required. So you want to make sure that you go to an auto parts store and see if you can rent one that's going to reach up to that spec, and also make sure you pick up maybe a reducer if you need that for your 1/2 inch, or just simply get a 1/2 inch that will go onto the torque wrench. Either way, these are not exactly something that people have common. So if you have one, great, but if not, definitely go pick one of these up to rent it. That way we know for sure that we're torquing it down properly, not putting too much stress on the threads, but also it's not going to back out over time. All right, so we'll start by tightening this down here. So with that tightened and torqued down, we can go ahead and put our cap back on here. So now we're going to go back to the bolts that we hand tightened underneath with our 3/4 inch socket, and we're going to just tighten these down before taking our torque wrench to them. Now we can go ahead and use the torque settings in the instruction manual. Now these are going to be a little bit different, quite a bit different than that top bolt, so just make sure you are checking those torque settings. We'll go ahead and torque this one as well. So now we have our hardware tightened and torqued, and now we're ready to hook up and use our hitch. And that was a look at the CURT Class 3 trailer hitch receiver on a 2022 Ram 1500.